A lot of us look at our problems like they're giant and they're super powerful and that we'll never be able to beat them. But it's just about your perspective and your perception of your problems. Your problems, like we're always like, why did this happen to me? But maybe you're the one that's sent there to tackle those problems.
We are back in the SpeakUp podcast studio. We got a very special guest in the building. We have Justin Torres. He is a recent father, a recent graduate, a photographer, a recent husband. Give it up for Justin Torres. We're going to get right into it. Justin, what do you think your ultimate goal is?
My ultimate goal right now, it changed a lot from like last year or whatever. It changed a lot recently. Yeah. So right now my goal is just to like buy a house with a lot of land around it and
what's a lot of land?
Like acres. I'm not sure how many acres, but acres.
I want a compound.
I want to be able to just like walk out on my porch in the morning butt naked and just like stare out at my acres and then get dressed and go to my store that I own and work for the rest of the day. That's my goal.
That's what's up. I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, so once I get there, I'll be good. And then whatever else comes after that is just adding to that lifestyle.
Right, adding to your joy.
Yeah.
Because you already accomplished what you wanted to. At that moment, you can say, I'm content.
Right.
And this is what I'm doing it for.
Right. I'll be good coming home to that every day. So what would you be good with coming home to every day?
I have to have a family. I think that's one of my biggest things. I understand that right now everybody wants businesses and things, but me, I really just want a great family unit.
Mm-hmm.
And that can come in any shape or size. But as long as I wake up and I have a solid family unit, like I know everybody around me is okay, that's my ultimate goal. I really, yeah. Now that when I think about it, it's not, I can say, yeah, I want this, I want that, I want money, I want to get these businesses going. That's cool, but what would I feel good like just waking up to, just off rip?
Yeah,
is a great family where I don't have to worry about nobody. Like everybody's mentally just there. Everybody's going towards a goal. Everybody's making their own money and can provide for themselves. That's my ultimate goal is to have, I guess, a legacy. It goes into legacy. That's what I would say. But more having them be stable. Having them be stable.
So how close are you to starting a family? Are you very far away?
I'm one nut away, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I'm one nut away. Nah, but realistically, I would say about 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years?
5 or 6 years when I plan it. But it's a weird thing, bro. And I was talking to my godmom about this too. She was saying that if you never put your family first, then they will never be first. If you don't put your family first, they will never be first in your life. If you spend your whole life worried about businesses or worried about education or worried about philanthropy or worried about anything else besides your family,
right,
then usually your family will never be first in your life. It's hard to make that switch.
Yeah,
I just took that.
I find myself getting caught up in that a lot. Like, I want this successful business so bad, but the real reason I want this successful business is to be able to take care of my family. But sometimes I lose focus of that and like disregard the family part of it and just focus on the successful business and forget why I'm even doing it.
It goes into that like that capitalistic mindset and like materialism and things like that. We feel like if the house is full, everybody's taken care of. But little do we know, when we are spending that time trying to make the house full, we're not going to the football games. We're not having those just random discussions with your kids or with your wife that you need. You just need it. That's family.
Yeah, that's how my life was like growing up for real. Because when I was growing up from middle school onwards, my mom was sick. So she couldn't work. So my dad was the only one working. So he was paying all the bills. He was like providing everything we needed financially. But the thing was, he wasn't there at all. Like, he was always at work. So it's really no winning in that situation. because you have to work to take care of your family. But at the same time, if you're always at work, you never get to spend time with your family.
This is a cycle, man. I don't know how are you going to make sure that doesn't happen? With you, especially with you being a new father.
I just want to like incorporate my family into my business. One of my goals is to open a clothing and shoe store. And I want to be able to have that store and bring my son to like that store every day to like teach him what I know and stuff like that. I feel like if the work and family are combined, then you just like take care of both things at once. No?
Okay. So you're saying basically like your son's gonna work for you. I mean, not like harsh like that, but like you're gonna teach him the game. So one day you give it to him. What we touched on a little bit before. With your father working so much, where did you understand life from? Who did you talk to?
I didn't understand life. Yeah. I didn't really like figure out like life until recently, like after college probably. Before that, I was just like dependent on everybody else to like guide me through life.
That's crazy. And I see you wearing a hat. Tell me a little bit about the hat.
The hat is just like a representation of my faith. It says, I love Jesus because I do. He saved my life. He saved me from bad times and depression. And I just have a new meaning of life.
A new meaning of life. Okay. How did you develop the hat idea? Like what made you even put that on the hat? Like,
the idea itself? I don't know. Like with this hat and the hat that I created before this, the Thou God I Be in Pieces, the hat I created before this, it was just like something that just popped into my head. It just like came to me and I just went on my laptop, put it up on Photoshop really quick and then put it on the hat.
And they are beautiful, man. I know that it's something.
I appreciate that.
No, for real. Where did you even get the skills to put it on the hat? Like where these hard skills, where did that come from?
Right. So the skills that I have right now to do like the things that I do are just like little things that I just picked up like on my journey. It's kind of like a Pokemon game. For real. Like, you know how like in the beginning of Pokemon, you go to like different houses to like acquire like different like items and stuff like that. Like you go to that first house to get the running shoes. And then you use that for like the rest of the game and it just leads to like something else.
Right.
So it's kind of like that. Like Photoshop is just something I picked up from being a part of the marketing committee for PBM.
Okay.
And I learned Photoshop from Halston.
Okay, man.
Yeah, and it was just like something random that I learned that like later on in life helped me to create something else.
So do you think that is like your life is destined to go a certain type of way, or that you're creating it as you go? As you pick up these different items in your life, you're kind of creating your destiny.
I think it's already set. I feel like because, dang, that's a hard question. I feel like it's already set because you stumped me.
No, bro. Hey, let's work through it. For me, it's I feel like I make my destiny through the choices I make.
Mm-hmm.
Now, God may have like an ultimate goal for me, kind of like this ultimate thing He wants me to do. Maybe some boxes He wants me to check off, but I can choose to check them off or not. Maybe that makes my life harder, but it's just the way I get through it. I don't know.
You know what? I think I might agree with that. With people, right? There's two components of a person. There's like the physical component and the spiritual component. The physical component is everything that you believe is real or everything that you know is real, right? So like your family, your friends, your job, your car, this table, everything that you know is real. The spiritual component is everything that you believe is real.
Wow.
Right? So I believe God is real. I believe that heaven is real. I believe that faith is real. So the physical component is something you already know, but the spiritual component is something that you have to believe in. So if I believe that God is real, I still need like proof in order to like really believe it. So that's where like faith comes in. So if I have faith that God is real and then I see the spiritual component like affect the physical component, then I have no other choice but to like really, really, really believe that. I feel like the physical component is like choices that we make, but overall the spiritual influences those choices to get us to like the destiny that God has for us. Yeah, this is stuff I've been thinking about out there in Naples.
Naples, man. So that's more your vibe.
Yeah.
Okay. So what made you move to Naples from Boca? Since you thought you were gonna live here for
Yeah,
a
well,
while.
I had a son, and I was living in an apartment with 2 roommates.
Okay.
So we had to get our own place, and we didn't really have the financial stability to get our own place. So we ended up moving over there to stay with her parents
Right.
while we got on our feet.
You had a son.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Having a son?
Yes.
Having a son is cool, man. It's like, I don't know, he's so like cute, bro.
Wait, let's go from the beginning. Let's go from when you found out that you're about to have a son, or that you're about to have a kid.
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience and what was going through your
I
mind.
mean, that was the most stressful part of like the whole like experience was finding out. It was just like, dang, like what do I do now? Like
Sunken place.
yeah, like how do I
How do I get
how am
out
I
of
gonna
here?
take care of this kid? How am I gonna take care of my wife? And just like trying to figure out all those things. And it seemed like we kept running into like different like roadblocks, but then God kept like solving those things. So like at first, she was scared to tell her parents. I was telling her, you know, just like have faith, like pray about it, like it's gonna be okay. She's like, no, it's not gonna be okay.
You don't understand.
Yeah, they're gonna get rid of me. Like they're gonna kick me out. They're not gonna mess with me at all anymore. My family's gonna disown me. I'm like, nah, you're tripping. Like just pray about it. Ask God to.
For the listeners, her parents are Haitian.
Yes, they are. So she ended up telling her parents, and at first they were upset.
When you say upset, what do you mean?
Like just like normally upset. Like,
okay,
how could you do this? Like, this is not what we sent you to school for.
Oh, okay.
And her dad wasn't talking to her, and they didn't really know me. Like, they had met me one time, but it was just like a quick like hello. And she tried to tell them about me before that, but they weren't like having it. Like, she told them. They were upset. Her dad wasn't talking to her. I ended up calling her dad and talking to him. It was so scary, bro. Like,
I bet.
I was like, oh my God, I don't even know what I'm about to say. Yeah. So I called him. I talked to him. I was like, you know, everything's going to be okay. I'm going to take care of them. I'm going to do what I have to do. It was really nice. Surprisingly.
What did he say?
I don't even remember, honestly. I was so ready to just to like say what I had to say and then get off the phone because I was so scared.
So let's go through the conversation right now.
Yeah.
All right. Bring. Hello.
I was like, hello, Mr. Joseph.
Bonjour.
I was like, how you doing? I'm Justin.
Justin.
Yeah. And I was like,
listen, he was quiet.
He was quiet?
Yeah, he was quiet.
Yeah, he was quiet.
Okay, I'll be quiet.
So I had already had like a speech planned out for what I was gonna say. Like, it involved me taking care of her. It involved God's will for us and everything like that. And then at the end of it, he was just like, okay, that sounds good. You sound like a nice young man. And I want you to come to Naples to talk to us. And then that was the end of the conversation. And then he was okay. He started talking to her again. And then a few weeks later, I think, or maybe like 2 weeks later, my dad flew down here and me and him drove to Naples together to sit down with her family at her house.
I ain't going out there by myself.
Yeah, so we drove down there together, and then when I got there, like her whole family was there.
No way.
Yeah.
You got ambushed.
Yeah.
You didn't even know it.
Yeah, so we got there, and just like more family kept coming. Like people just kept knocking on the door and stuff. I'm like, oh my God, bro. So we ate. They didn't say anything really. We ate, and then after we ate, they were like, all right, let's talk.
Okay.
So it was just like all her uncles like at the table and me, and like my dad's next to me, but he's not like intervening or anything like that. And they're just like rapid fire, like with the questions like, all right, well, what are you guys going to do now? Are you going to get married? How are you going to support them? Like, what are you going to do? And I handled it as best as I could.
Man, that's pressure.
Yeah. But I mean,
pressure.
after that, then everything was like okay with her family. They're the most loving people that I've ever met. Like, they're a beautiful family.
So you call her dad, you go meet him, and by this time, how many months is she pregnant? Do you know?
I'd say probably like 2 or 3.
2 or 3, so very early.
Yeah, it was early.
Very early.
Yeah, they know about it for a while.
Man, okay.
We didn't want to wait till like she started showing, and then they just like figure out on their own.
Yeah, that would have been a whole different conversation, probably.
So that was the first roadblock. And then after that, we had to figure out where we were going to live. So we started looking for apartments here. Then like we got into like credit scores weren't good enough to like get approved for an apartment. So we were just asking God, like, all right, well, you know, like we need you to find us somewhere to live. Towards like maybe like 5 or 6 months pregnant, her parents offered us to come stay there with them. Yeah. And then we wanted to get married. We couldn't afford rings or anything like that. My dad flew down here for Thanksgiving and gave us his wedding ring and my mom's wedding ring.
That's heavy.
Yeah. Wow. So things just kept like falling in line. Like we were worried about so many things at the beginning of the pregnancy, but at the end, every like single thing had like worked itself out.
Yeah, it was kind of like meant to be. Like God just was like, I got you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Man, that's powerful.
And now I got a beautiful baby boy.
So, okay, then she has the baby.
Yeah.
Then what? Did things change? Did you feel something change?
Man, it's weird.
Yeah.
So we went to a birth center. We didn't do a hospital birth. So it's kind of more like a home type environment.
Like she was in a tub?
Yeah, she was in a tub.
Hey, that's what I want. No, that's really what I want. That's what I want.
So we had a midwife. We had a doula, which is like a person that's there for like moral support. And then it was in a tub.
That's definitely
so
what I want.
I was in the tub with her for like the beginning of it. And then I ended up getting out of the tub and just like standing over the side of it. When he came out, bro, he looked weird, like an alien. Like it was so weird. Like it was just like this like person has been in her stomach for like 9 months, and now it's just the person's here. Like with the hospital, you stay in the hospital for like 2 or 3 days after you give birth. But with the birth center, as soon as you're like stable and stuff like that, like 4 hours after you give birth, they let you go home.
Get the fuck out.
So he was born at 5:30 p.m. and we drove home at like 8:30.
Fuck.
Yeah. So
you like got this whole baby. Like, you sure you want it?
So like they cleaned everything up and they got us ready to go, and we got in the car and we drove home, and we stopped at Pollo, and then we got home and we were in my room, in the master bedroom of an apartment with my 2 other roommates in the other rooms, and we were just there with a baby.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You just got a whole fucking baby, bro.
Yeah, and then it's just like, you know, like, what do I do now? Should I just go to sleep? Like, do I have to stay awake? Like, what do I do?
So it was just a lot of confusion. Was it like that?
It wasn't confusion. Like we knew what to do. Like we knew we had to like change diapers and like feed them and like wake them up and stuff like that. But it was just so new.
More reality. I guess coming to you. It's like we know what to do, but now we have to do it. It's here.
Exactly.
Man.
Yeah, and then
I can't imagine.
Then it's like as a dad, it's like different than being a mom. Of course, like a mom, she already has like a connection with him as soon as he comes out, because he's been inside her for 9 months and like they've always been together. But with a dad, you have to kind of like gain that love or whatever, because it's new. Like I've been calling her stomach Israel for 9 months. Like to me, it was just her stomach, but now he's actually here, and I have to love him.
Man. Yeah. So when he came out, did anything click in your mind like, okay, I got to do this differently, or did you come to like a realization or like an epiphany at any point, or was it kind of like a gradual thing?
I would say it was pretty gradual. I knew that like I had to take care of them, but it wasn't like real yet. It took a little while for it to like get real.
Like after she had the baby, or before?
Yeah, after she had the baby. Like before she had the baby, when she was pregnant, I was like, all right, cool. Like I'm gonna have to like work hard. I'm gonna have to take care of them and do this stuff. But then once he came, it was like, all right, now he's here and I'm still broke. So I gotta actually really, really go out here and do something. And then after like a week, we moved to Naples. I kind of got comfortable a little bit because we had her parents there to like help us and stuff like that. But then I ended up getting a job and like going after like what I want to go after.
Where did you get a job at?
So before we had moved to Naples, I had went on Indeed and looked for like a bunch of like photography jobs.
Okay.
In Naples, and I have applied for one, but I didn't hear anything back. When we got to Naples, let's say I quit my job on that Friday, right before we left. On Monday, I went to the place that I had applied to. Like I hadn't heard anything back from them, but I was just like, whatever, I'm gonna just show up and like see what they say. So
Y'all niggas hiring?
yeah, basically. So I got there and there was nobody there. And on Google Maps, it had said they were open from 8 to 5. But when I got there, the door said by appointment only. I was like, dang. I just drove all the way out here for no reason. And I had planned on getting there at 8 a.m. when they said they opened, but I didn't make it there until like 1 p.m. Right?
That's a big jump, bro.
But I got a baby. So I got to take care of the baby and stuff like that.
5 minutes.
Hey, bro, that's one thing you're going to learn as a dad. You'll never leave the house on time. Like, you could say you're going to be somewhere at 8 and not get there until like 3 p.m. or something like that.
Baby time.
Yeah, but anyway, I got there at 1 p.m. There was nobody there. The door said by appointment only. So I got back in the car and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to just take one of my business cards and write a note on it that I was here. So as I was in the car writing a note on this paper, a van pulled up, right? And the parking lot was empty, like completely empty. And this van just pulled up out of nowhere. And this couple got out, Randy and Don.
Did they have candy?
No, but it is like a big white van.
Yeah.
So they pull up, the lady goes inside and the guy is getting out of the van. So I get out and I'm like, hello. Like I tell him who I am and stuff like that. I ask him if he's the owner of the studio and he says he's the photography coordinator of the studio. So I told him what I was there for. He invited me inside to have a conversation. I showed him my work and stuff like that. And he said he really liked it and he would talk to the hiring person. Yeah. Like out of nowhere, bro. Like, It was just like by pure coincidence that I just happened to like be there at the same time that they pulled up.
And if you probably would have came at 8, you probably would have never found them.
Nah, they weren't there.
Man.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's a crazy story.
So I got the job like the week after that, and then it started like a month later.
That's so much.
So faith. I was broke for a month.
That's so much faith, man.
Yeah.
When I hear that story, you quit your job on Friday.
Yeah.
You quit. Like,
I just quit. Yeah.
I don't know what I'm gonna do.
And before I quit, they asked me what I was gonna do. I was like, I'm gonna be a photographer full time. And I didn't know how or anything like that.
You just had faith.
Yeah. And now I'm a photographer full time.
That's fucking crazy, bro.
All right.
I love that. That's powerful. Hey, if you want something, just trust in God and go for it. You put in the work. You went. You've been doing photography for a while. Damn, bro. And so how long have you been working there?
I've been working there since the beginning of July.
Okay. So about 3-4 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's fun. I love going to work.
That's amazing.
Bro. Yeah.
Because any part of that story could have been a little bit different and it wouldn't have worked out.
Exactly.
It wouldn't have worked out. Fuck. Because you could have just said, okay, I'm not going to quit my job. I'm just going to suffer.
Yeah.
You could have said, damn, I'm so late to go to this place that I'm just not going to go anymore. I'm going to try again tomorrow or something.
Right.
Or you could have went on time. You could have not had a business card.
Exactly.
So much shit. Much shit could have.
I could have just left right away once I got there.
You could have left right away, but you was like, no, I'm gonna put a note in.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That's a beautiful story, man.
Yeah.
And I found like in my life, that's kind of how the best things happen too.
Exactly.
When I have faith in God, when I put in the work behind it, and I have a vision.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, I'm gonna be a photographer. How you gonna do it? I don't know, but I already put in the work. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. I got a better story for you.
Go.
Can I tell it?
Well, come on. Let's hear it.
All right. So, a couple months before my son was born, I was sitting outside of a house and my wife was inside doing this little girl's hair, whatever, because she does hair. And my brother called me and he told me that he had received a message from God that God was going to send me a messenger to give me the wisdom to do the things that I needed to do, right? And that everything was going to be okay. So I was like, all right, cool. And then he started talking to me about listening to God and obeying his word. And he was telling me this story about how he was at Office Depot and he went outside and some lady was walking in and God told him to speak to her, but he chose to like ignore it or whatever. Like, you know, I'll look crazy if I just go up to this lady and start talking to her about this thing that God told me to tell her. So he was telling me how later that night he just felt really bad about it and stuff like that. And then listening to this story, it made me think about earlier in the day. I had dropped my wife off to babysit these little kids, right? And I was in this neighborhood in like East Boca, near like the Tri-Rail station and stuff like that. And I was pulling out of the neighborhood and I saw a Bible in the middle of the street, right? As I turned this corner, it was just like open, like in the middle of the street, right? So I drove past it and then I was like, dang, I should go back and like pick it up. Like, why is it there? Like, it doesn't even make sense. But then I was like, nah, I'm not going to go all the way back there and get out the car to go pick up this Bible. But then later that night when I was on the phone with him, it made me think about that. So when I got off the phone with him, she got done with the hair. It was like 10 p.m. and it had been raining all day. Like I was like, I got to go back and get this Bible. So we drove all the way back across Boca and we got to the place like where the Bible was and it wasn't there. So I was like, dang, what should I do? So I pulled over into like this parking lot and I got out the car and went to the street to look for the Bible and it wasn't there. But then I kept looking. I was like in the bushes with like my flash on and stuff like that, looking for this Bible. And I ended up finding it on the side of the street, wet, but still open to like the same like place or whatever, right? So I picked it up and carried it back to the car and I was talking to my wife. I was like, what should I do? And she said, just bring it home and then find out like what page it was on and stuff like that and just read it. So I took it home. It was open to Malachi chapter 3, verse 10. I tried to read it or whatever, and it really didn't make sense to me because, like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to read the Bible. Sometimes, like, it'd be a lot of, like, little words and stuff like that don't really make sense to me. So that night, I, like, researched it and stuff like that. And the whole, like, book of Malachi is basically, like, a letter or like, a conversation between Malachi and God about the corruption of Israel. So the next day when we got to church, we were in church and we were just chilling there. You know, we did the worship and stuff like that. And then before church started, the pastor got up on stage and was like, I just wanted to share this verse with you guys real quick. And then he put the verse up on the PowerPoint screen things, and it was Malachi chapter 3, verse 10. I was like, what the hell, bro? Like, what's going on? Like, somebody's messing with me right now.
You're in a movie.
Yeah.
Man.
So that happened. Like a week passed, and I didn't even think about it. And then the next week, we were in church again, and out of nowhere, Willa just like leaned over and was like, you know, maybe we should change Israel's name to Malachi. So I was like, I don't know. Like, it sounds cool. Like, it's a cool name or whatever. So I looked it up, and then so the meaning of Malachi is my messenger or my angel, right? So then I thought back to the conversation I had with my brother about how God was going to send me a messenger to give me the wisdom that I needed, right?
Right.
So we ended up making Israel's middle name Malachi. And I still have the Bible too. It's like in a plastic bag. I'm going to put it in his room one day.
No, that was, man.
Right.
It was so much in that story, man.
Sometimes I feel like when people like see me like on Instagram and stuff like that with the I Love Jesus hat and like the Bible verses and stuff like that, they just think like I'm just like doing it just to like, I'm just capping or something like that. But like, it's real. Like, I really feel this.
You've been through it. You've seen them.
Yeah, I'm really
you've seen the signs.
Yeah, I'm really invested in this walk with God. Like, I really want to know like what life has for me.
So how has your journey with God been, like, from the inception of it to now? How's it kind of grown and transformed?
Man, it's been such a wild ride. I mean, I went to church and stuff like that when I was young with my parents. We went to church every Sunday, but then as I got older, we kind of like strayed away from it a little bit. We went to church, but like once a month or something like that. And then the point in my life that like really changed things, and in summer 2016, I found out my mom had cancer, and then I moved home to like be a commuter or whatever to finish my last semester. But then my parents ended up moving to Texas, and they told me that I could either stay here and just like basically just like struggle on my own, or I could come with them and get a job there and live with them and stuff like that. So I chose to stay here. So I ended up working at Lowe's, drinking a lot, smoking a lot, and I was just like really like depressed. And then January 1st, 2017, I met my wife. After that, it seemed like everything was like good. Like I got a new job, a full-time job at the law firm as a legal assistant.
Man, you've been doing everything, man.
Yeah, right?
Jack of many trades.
Yeah. And then that summer, I ended up, so when I met her, probably like a couple months later, I ended up moving like in her dorm room with her. So I stayed in like UVA for a while, and then in GPT for like the summer. And then at the end of the summer, I moved back into that apartment that I was sleeping on the couch in, but I moved into the master bedroom. So then I had an apartment. It was lit. I had my car.
It was lit.
I had my car. I had a little 2006 BMW. I thought I was the man. Used to ride around like I was Rick Ross or something. And then my mom's cancer went away, right? So at this point, I'm like ecstatic. Like I'm living life. Like it's lit.
Everything's good now.
Yeah. And then another couple months passed and the cancer came back. And then it was like, dang. Like,
everything hit.
Yeah.
Everything hit right back.
Yeah. So the cancer came back. She got really sick. And then in March, the end of March, I think, or the end of April, she ended up passing away. And then that's when like things like really got bad.
And with me, like certain things will happen in my life. Like something like really terrible happened in my life recently. And it really pushed me away from God.
What happened?
I don't want to get into it, but
Did you lose somebody?
No, I didn't lose somebody. I learned something. I learned something about one of my I'll tell you later.
All right.
But it kind of pushed me away from God,
mm-hmm.
and it seemed like at that point when I learned the situation happened,
mm-hmm.
I was really focused on God at that point. I was really reading my Bible,
mm-hmm.
Going to church again, talking to the pastor, really getting into it.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like when that happened, like the devil was just like, nah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let this happen. He kind of threw me in a different direction. But
that's what the devil does.
Yeah, but at that moment, I just was really mad at God
mm-hmm.
and like, God, how could you let this happen?
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just really threw me away and took me away from God, and I kind of just went the other way. I didn't start drinking or anything like that, but I really was just living for myself at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just real confused, angry, didn't know why.
Yeah.
It just felt like the rug was pulled from under me or something.
Yeah. I know that feeling, bro.
So I say all that to say, like, how did your relationship with God, how was it when all of these things would happen in a small amount of time?
So once my mom passed, like, I was upset. I was just asking God, like, like, why would you do this? My mom was a great woman, bro. She was like very caring. She had a big heart. She touched so many lives. Like everybody that met my mom was like just like in love with like her energy, like her vibe or whatever. I was just like, dang, God, if like you're gonna take her, like you got to take me too. Like, yeah, like this, I can't even like live, like go on no more without my mom here. She was like my best friend. So then like a week after she passed, we ended up flying to Texas for her funeral. At her funeral, at first I wasn't even gonna go into the room where they had the ceremony at, but I ended up going in, and I walked up to the coffin, and I picked up her hand and stuff, and it was just like heavy and like cold. I think something clicked like at that moment or whatever, and I realized that just how I was speaking about that like physical component and that spiritual component earlier. I don't know. I just realized that like the physical was like separate from the spiritual. So even though her body was dead, she wasn't dead. Like she was still alive.
Her
like
spirit was still there.
I still love her. I know she still loves me. I remember her. I could see her in my head. So how can she be dead? Like as long as like I'm always thinking about her and talking about her and keeping her memory alive, she can't be dead.
Right.
So that's how I got through the funeral. But after that, I did get pretty depressed, and I was smoking a lot. Like I feel like weed has always been my crutch to like fall back on. But in some ways I feel like weed has also like added to the depression because it's something I always like ran to. It just helped me like run away from my problems. But a few months later, I was at work, and I just got this random idea in my head. Like I was at my desk chilling, and I was just thinking about like clothes and stuff like that. And then I started thinking about hats. And then out of nowhere, this idea just popped in my head, like the sentence. It was like, without God, I'd be in pieces. And I just felt like overwhelmed with this feeling. So when I got off work, I rushed home, opened the laptop, got on Photoshop, and I made the without God, I'd be in pieces design. And me like creating that just like re-sparked like a love for God that I didn't know was there. And then in June, the end of June, I think I got baptized. And since then, I've just been like continuing my journey with God. And then the pregnancy happened and all those things just fell into place.
That's a lot going on, man.
Yeah.
It seems like you didn't have a time to kind of just sit in one place and like, I don't want to say grieve properly because it seemed like you did, but it was just a lot happening in a matter of what, 2 years, a year and a half.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that stress? Because that's a lot of stress. And I know you said that you started smoking a little bit, but was there anything else you did?
I don't know, bro. Like, I've always been really good at like compartmentalizing things. So like, even when my mom was sick, like I rarely even like thought about it. Like it would just always be like in the back of my head, but I would be like fine. And I think that's something that I've gotten from my dad, because me and my dad both are like really like, we keep things like bottled up for a while. We have like anger problems. I think I have anger problems because I don't like let my feelings out enough, and I don't talk about things enough. So that's something I'm still trying to figure out.
How to deal with that
how to deal with stress and like
that emotion,
grieving and stuff like that. I don't know how.
What are some ways that you think you could?
I think one way that I do it is by just like creating stuff, like creativity and stuff like that. It's like my outlet to like get my emotions and stuff like that out.
Right. And that even goes to the hat piece where you were saying without
God I'd be in pieces.
Without God I'd be in pieces.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of a way to get out that emotion with your mom. It sounded like.
Yeah.
So have you done that before? Or that was kind of like the first time? It kind of
like
that.
You know, like since I've been on this journey with God, I look back at my life and I see stuff that I didn't see like when I was actually going through these things. So like sometimes I look back at events that happen and I'm like, okay, I see like where God like guided me and stuff like that. But at that moment, like I wasn't even thinking about God, so I didn't know what was happening. Understand?
Right.
Yeah.
How much is the hat? The I Love Jesus hat?
I don't know. It's not for sale right now.
Not for sale?
I mean, it's gonna be for sale soon.
I really want to buy one. I'm looking at it right now. I want one.
Yeah, it's gonna be for sale soon, but I don't know. It's just like another idea that came to me, and I put it on a hat, and then I just wore it and took a picture in it.
When you do it,
yeah.
Let me know. I'm gonna be the first person to buy one.
Thank you. I appreciate that, bro.
I'll be the first person to buy one.
Thank you,
man. So, in closing, if somebody is dealing with that stress and they don't know how to cope with it, or better yet, if they're dealing with a problem, that they're going through, whether it be classes, whether it be going into a new venture, whether it be some family issues, what would you say to them?
God already gave me the answer to this question.
What would you say to them to get them through it?
So, all right. So, the story of David and Goliath, right? Goliath was a giant, as described in the Bible. But the story of David and Goliath is not the story of an underdog. A lot of people think it is. Like this little kid, David slayed this big giant man with God's power. But the story of David and Goliath is a story of perspective and perception. If you look at it from a scientific point of view or whatever, right? Goliath had a disease called acromegaly or something like that. It's a disease that causes people to be really large, but at the same time, their bones are really brittle and they have double vision. So it might have seemed like Goliath was this big giant creature that was capable of just like ripping up this little boy, but really Goliath was the weak one. David was a trained slinger. Like this little slingshot that he had wasn't just like a little like toy slingshot. Like he was a slinger in the army, and the rock that David had left the sling with like the same velocity as like a 45 gun, right? When David slayed Goliath, it was him like slaying like his problems, right? A lot of us look at our problems like they're giant and they're super powerful and that we'll never be able to beat them, but it's just about your perspective and your perception of your problems. Your problems, like we're always like, why did this happen to me? But maybe you're the one that's sent there to tackle those problems. You feel me? So, for instance, like what's a problem that you have?
What problem do I have? I need to make sure that my family in Gainesville is doing what they need to do.
All right, so you might look at it like, all right, my family doesn't have what they need, right?
Okay.
And then you're like, dang, like why did this happen to my family? Like, You know, why couldn't I just be born into like a family that had everything, and then I wouldn't have to worry about it? But maybe you, Jesse, it was placed in this situation in order to help your family to get to where they needed to be. I think for anybody dealing with like a big problem, you just got to look at it from like a different point of view.
To where God put you in this situation for a reason.
Yeah, he put you in that situation with a specific set of talents or skills in order to tackle that problem and see through the illusions.
Or to gain those skills to tackle the problem.
Yeah.
Maybe for a bigger problem.
Yeah.
Man, that's powerful.
But a lot of people are like Saul's army, and they just see this big giant and they just run away. Yeah.
They don't really look at it for what it is. They look at it for what they think it is.
Yeah.
They
exactly
attach their own fears, their own shortcomings to the problem.
Exactly.
Say, I can't do this.
Exactly.
Because in my being, I feel like I can't.
Right.
Man.
But with God's strength, you could do anything.
Because God gave you all the skills
right
to do it. That's big.
Mm-hmm.
That's real big. And with that, man, I want to thank you for speaking up.
Thank you. I'm honored to be on this.
I keep on. Yeah.